Feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges? At Salt River Therapy, their therapists provide you with a safe, affirming space to heal and grow.
Salt River Therapy Practice offers compassionate, quality therapy for individuals and couples, both in person in Brooklyn and virtually throughout New York and New Jersey. Salt River Therapy specializes in anxiety, grief, low self esteem, identity issues, trauma, relationship challenges, and more. They accept most New York Aetna plans and have a sliding scale rates available.
Ready to prioritize your mental health? Schedule a free consultation today at saltrivertherapy.com. That's saltrivertherapy.com. Let Salt River Therapy support you on your journey to well-being.
Hey, everybody, before we dive into today's episode, here's a quick tip about digestion. To Bloat by Lumo is a supplement that combines probiotics and digestive enzymes to ease bloating and support gut health fast. It's made with just four ingredients you've probably heard of: papaya, pineapple, soybean, and tempeh. Just one capsule around mealtime does the job.
Head to trylumo.co and use the code INFO on the go for an additional 15% off, or just click the link in the show notes. Hi, I'm William,
And I'm Kat.
and this is a dash of info.
Little things you want to know.
A dash of info around yellow journalism.
Which was a style of American newspapers that used flashy headlines and exaggerated stories to sell more copies.
This term is mainly used in American English, while in the UK, the similar term is tabloid journalism. I'm going to be honest with you here. We should use that term in the United States now.
Right, exactly. In other languages like Russian, the term is also derived from the American one. Yellow journalism became popular in the 1890s due to fierce competition between two New York City newspapers.
Now, just to be clear, this wasn't really common in other cities. So, Joseph Pulitzer bought the New York World in 1883 and told his editors to sensationalize and fight against corruption and use lots of pictures to attract readers.
Lots of pictures.
Yes.
In 1895, William Randolph Hearst bought the New York Journal and competed fiercely with Pulitzer.
They both used the Yellow Kid, which was a comic strip, first published in the World and later in the Journal, which gave rise to the term yellow journalism. And we're going to get into what exactly happened here, but just note that this comic strip sparked yellow journalism.
The rivalry between the New York World and the New York Journal was marked by fierce competition, including a high-profile bidding war over cartoonist Richard F. Outcault and his famous comic strip, The Yellow Kid.
This conflict played a significant role in the rise of yellow journalism, a term associated with sensationalized and exaggerated reporting.
Originally appearing in Hogan's Alley, The Yellow Kid was a comic strip featuring a bald, wide-eyed child in a yellow nightshirt.
You really need to look up Google. You really need to Google the Yellow Kid.
I feel
it
like I've
is
seen this now that it was described.
it it is old timey to say the least.
Oh.
But it if you saw it, you would be like, "Oh, I've seen this somewhere before."
Mm-hmm. I sure have.
Okay. It became immensely popular when Outcult began drawing it for the New York World in 1896.
The comic's humor and satirical social commentary resonated with readers, making it a circulation-boosting sensation.
Okay. William Randolph Hearst, the owner of the New York Journal, was determined to overtake Pulitzer in the newspaper business.
Recognizing the Yellow Kid's popularity, Hearst lured Outcult away from the World, offering a higher salary and better opportunities.
Wonder how that played out.
Right.
The competition between the two publishers escalated into a bidding war over Outcult.
Although Hearst succeeded in hiring him, Pulitzer refused to concede defeat.
Instead, he hired another artist, um, George Lukes, to continue drawing the Yellow Kid for the World.
Hmm. This resulted in two competing versions of the Yellow Kid appearing in both newspapers simultaneously, further fueling the circulation battle.
Wow. So you kind of see things are getting heated up here. I wonder how that would work if you had two. It would have to be like two different versions of the same comic strip, and it would get confusing, wouldn't it?
How did copyright infringement not happen there? I guess that
Well,
wasn't a thing then.
well, maybe the world had the rights to the Yellow Kid comic strip. So the battle over the Yellow Kid was emblematic of the sensationalist tactics used by both papers.
This era of aggressive journalism became known as yellow journalism, a term derived from the Yellow Kid and its role in the newspaper wars.
So the yellow press is a term used for newspapers that utilize striking, multi-column front page headlines that span an array of topics, including sports and scandals. And when I read this, you know what the first thing that popped in my mind was? A comic strip.
Right.
You know how they have the multi-headlines and there's a lot happening.
Yeah.
So looking at some of the headlines from this time, that's exactly what it is.
These newspapers stood out for their bold or eye catching layouts featuring large illustrations and occasionally incorporating color.
Their content heavily relied on unnamed sources. What? Fostering an air of speculation, and they were infamous for their unabashed self promotion.
Mm. Around the turn of the 20th century, this journalistic style became synonymous with the fierce competition between two prominent New York City newspapers vying for dominance and circulation.
So there's five distinctive traits of yellow journalism, which served as markers of this sensationalistic approach.
Scare headlines. These were printed in immense type, often blowing minor or inconsequential news out of proportion to captivate readers.
Lavish visuals, the frequent use of photographs or even fabricated drawings aimed to create a dramatic impact. Hmm.
Deceptive content, faked interviews, misleading headlines, pseudoscience, and a parade of dubious expert claims became hallmarks of yellow journalism.
Colorful Sunday supplements. These typically included light-hearted or superficial articles and comic strips, adding entertainment value to attract a broader audience.
Advocacy for the underdog. Yellow journalism frequently adopted a dramatic tone, siding with the underdog in opposition to larger societal or systemic forces.
Additionally, a pervasive future of yellow journalism was its sensationalized crime reporting.
This focus on scandalous or salacious stories was deliberately designed to inflame public opinion and drive up newspaper sales, even at the expense of accuracy and journalistic integrity.
Yellow journalism's sensationalistic style was used by both publishers in their coverage of world events, especially in Cuba.
Cuba had been a Spanish colony, and the revolutionary movement there intensified in the 1890s.
Many in the U.S. wanted Spain to leave Cuba, and some supported the Cuban revolutionaries.
Hearst and Pulitzer focused on the Cuban struggle for independence, sometimes exaggerating the harshness of Spanish rule or the nobility of the revolutionaries, and occasionally printing false stories. These bold headlines and dramatic drawings sold many papers.
So they were making money off of making fake headlines.
Right.
In early 1898, the U.S. battleship Maine sank in Havana Harbor.
The explosion on February 15th was initially thought to have occurred on board, but Hearst and Pulitzer published rumors of a Spanish plot.
Could you imagine those headlines? The Spanish blow up this battleship.
Right, let's just start a war that was
Yeah,
unnecessary.
I mean, for real. A U.S. naval investigation later suggested a mine in the harbor caused the explosion, leading to calls for war. By May, the Spanish-American War had begun.
While yellow journalism helped create a climate for international conflict and U.S. expansion, it didn't solely cause the war.
If you have these false headlines and then you have voters that are voting for politicians off of fake-based news, how does that play out?
Mm,
I mean, that's where I'm going with that. I mean, you're going to vote for somebody that's going to support what you believe to be factual, right?
right.
Okay. Other factors like the push for U.S. overseas expansion, led by figures like Theodore Roosevelt, played a significant role as well.
However, yellow journalism's dramatic style captured public attention and influenced reactions to international events.
This was contributing to public support for the Spanish American War, which ultimately expanded the global reach of the United States.
Hearst, a leading Democrat, supported William Jennings Bryan for president in 1896 and 1900. He later ran for mayor, governor, and even sought the presidential nomination.
However, his reputation suffered in 1901 when columnist Ambrose Bryce and editor Arthur Brisbane published columns suggesting the assassination of President William McKinley.
When McKinley was shot on September 6, 1901, critics blamed Hearst's yellow journalism for inciting the act.
Although Hearst claimed he was unaware of Bryce's column and pulled Brisbane's after its first edition, the incident haunted him and damaged his presidential ambitions.
Yeah, I can see how that hurt a little bit.
Yeah, for real. I mean, you're sitting here supporting something that didn't even happen, because you're focused on this, yellow journalism. Like, since, yeah, I don't know, just making up stuff to sell stuff is crazy.
Right, right. The rumor mill. Pulitzer, troubled by his yellow sins, returned the world to its crusading roots in the early 20th century.
By his death in 1911, the World was a respected publication and remained a leading progressive paper until 1931.
Its name continued in the Scripps Howard New York World Telegram, later the New York World Telegram, and Sun in 1950, and finally the New York World Journal Tribune from 1966 to 1967.
By then, only one broadsheet newspaper was left in New York City.
You can still find yellow journalism today on social media platforms, and here's how.
Okay, let's go with it. Clickbait headlines. Articles used exaggerated or misleading headlines to lure readers into clicking. Phrases like, you won't believe what happened next, or shocking truth exposed, are some common tactics.
Over dramatization. News stories are exaggerated to appear more shocking or alarming than they really are, creating unnecessary panic or outrage.
Focus on negative news. Social media tends to amplify negative stories because they generate strong emotional reactions. This can distort the public's perception of reality, making the world seem more dangerous or chaotic than it truly is.
Spread of misinformation. False or misleading news spreads rapidly on platforms like Facebook, sometimes intentionally for political or financial gain, and sometimes unintentionally through well meaning users sharing without fact checking.
Untrustworthy news sources, unlike traditional media, social media allows almost anyone to create and distribute content, leading to an increase in unreliable sources that promote conspiracy theories, pseudoscience, and outright falsehoods.
The rapid spread of sensationalized or misleading news on social media can have serious consequences.
Public misinformation is one of them that pops right up, right?
Mhm.
Many people believe and share false information, leading to widespread confusion on important issues.
Increased polarization. Sensationalized news often feeds into existing biases, deepening political and social divisions.
Erosion of trust in journalism. The prevalence of fake or misleading news makes it harder for people to distinguish between credible journalism and unreliable sources.
How to avoid yellow journalism on social media. To protect yourself from falling for yellow journalism, consider these strategies.
Check the source. Verify that the news comes from a reputable, established organization. And, Google what you just read and look at multiple headlines for it.
Right. Read beyond the headline. Sensational headlines can be misleading. Read the full article before forming an opinion.
Fact check it. We have to do that here on the show. Use fact checking websites like Snoops, PolitiFact, or Reuters Fact Check to verify claims.
Be skeptical of emotional reactions. If a story seems designed to provoke outrage or fear, take a step back and analyze whether it's being exaggerated.
As social media continues to shape the way we consume news, understanding and recognizing yellow journalism is more important than ever.
By staying informed and questioning sensationalized content, users can help reduce the spread of misinformation and promote responsible journalism.
This was pretty interesting, Kat. What did you think?
It was pretty interesting. I mean, and you really do see a lot of yellow journalism, if you will, definitely on social media and even sometimes just out in the world.
Yeah, I mean, not to name some big web social media websites, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different clickbait that's out there, and especially, you know, it just you just need to be informed. Like Kat said, like we talked about in this episode, if it sounds too good to be true, you
It
know,
probably is.
yeah, and then Google multiple sources. Don't just go with one. I mean, if we just went with one source when we
We could
wrote,
be very much wrong.
yeah, so we try to look at different sources. We try to, like especially when we coming at you with something that's medical, we try to go to like some medical websites and kind of verify what we're talking about before we bring it out. I know it's
Right.
not the same, but I just think there's a lot of different people that fall for a lot of different things out there that really need to kind of just be informed. Think for yourself. Don't let someone else think for you.
Absolutely. The term willfully ignorant comes to mind, and let's not do that.
Yeah, no. No, because everybody that listens to this show is curious. So they're already checking those websites and they're already checking fact checking everything.
Right. Right. That's all I have.
Yeah, that's all I got to. So we want to give a special thank you to our supporters.
And if you would like to support this podcast,
You too can click the support link in the show notes.
William and I want to thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you so much for listening.
Join the Facebook group at Info on the Go
Share with us your show ideas.
or ask us a question.
Subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcast.
Send us a text using the link in the show notes or leave a review.
Email us at,
Info on the Go podcast at gmail.com.
and yes, that is all one word. Till next time.
Stay curious.